Are we good? Are we live? Are we good? Yay! We are live! Awesome. Okay. So, first of all, huge thank you to the team at Glamour magazine for giving me the opportunity to have this conversation with you all today. Thank you to everyone who has joined in. For those who don't know me, which is probably most of you, my name's Marissa, and in addition to being a person who comments and works a lot on race and racial equity, I also do a lot of work on grief and loss. This is my mom, and yes, we have a thing for pink. She passed away a little over 12 years ago when I was 25, and probably almost exactly a year ago now, we actually lost a pregnancy as well. And so I've spent a lot of the last 10 to 12 years writing about grief, writing about loss, and as I personally struggled to figure out my feelings in this moment as a Black woman in this country, I finally realized I was going through another grieving process. And grief is incredibly complicated and it's hard. And in this moment, I wanted to create a space for Black people to talk about their grief, to talk about their feelings, and then, ultimately, hopefully for us to land on, some solutions of how we can move forward together. But having been through a lot of loss in my life, I can tell you we're not going to be able to fully reconcile as a country unless we pause and give people the space that they need to grieve, to rest, to recover. At that point, I think there may be some hope for reconciliation. And so today I'm super excited. I have some really fun and interesting and brilliant folks joining the conversation. Our first guest is my new friend, Alexandra L. She is an author, a speaker, and a self-care facilitator. And I'm gonna see if I can successfully add her to this discussion now. Wish me luck, guys, because if you know me, you know technology is absolutely not my thing. Okay, it looks like she may not be ready just yet. So you're still stuck with me for another minute. I hope that's okay. In this moment, I hope one of the other things that we can talk about this afternoon is just how people are taking care of themselves. The fact that if you are African American, you saw a lot of bodies the last few weeks that either look like yours or they look like, your parent or your sibling or your child in some cases. And so figuring out how you balance your desire and your need to fight and be an activist in this moment, but also to take care of yourself just feels hugely important to me. And so we're gonna try and figure that out, and let's see if we can get Alex to join us now. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm gonna ask Brendan on my team to find Alex for us. I was warned Instagram Live has a tendency to be a little wonky. So I hope you will be patient with us and maybe use this time for a bathroom break. Actually, you know what? I see one of our other speakers on here. So I am going to see if he's free, and we're just going to go a little bit out of order.
Hey,
Hello.
buddy.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I mean, I've
You
been
know,
better.
I know, right?
Thank you so much for
I am not
jumping
Alex,
on
by the way.
early.
Although, Alex is awesome. I probably should be Alex, but I am not Alex. This is
No, yeah, this is not Alex, folks. This is my dear friend, Joshua Dubois. Joshua, in addition to currently running two companies and helping to co-parent three kids under
there are a
four.
lot of tiny people in this house right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
he also previously advised President Obama and ran a lot of faith and community partnerships work out of the White House. So he's got a lot of perspective on this moment that we're in. And I'm really excited to just be chatting with you, man.
You
This is
too.
great.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, how are you really doing? You posted something really powerful on social this week, and you spoke to, the fact that this country isn't a racist country until things like, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor happen. And you also said that you still have hope. And so, given you are a pastor, but you've also done a lot of work around racial equity, access to opportunity, etc. Like, I would just love to hear your thoughts on how you're doing right now, how you're thinking about things, how you're thinking about your kids.
Yeah, no, there's a lot there. How am I doing? I am at once like just flooded with grief, with sadness, with I keep trying to go back to George Floyd as an individual, as a human being, as a dad, as
Yeah.
somebody who was in a Bible study group. I saw a picture of like his Bible study friends, as somebody who
Oh my
showed
God.
up to work, and I don't want to move past the fact that a knee was on a neck and a man is dead, right? Like in the midst of everything else, I feel like I owe it to him and to the universe and to God to like sit in that for a while. And so I'm upset at that. I'm upset that it happened again. I'm also like something feels different now. Like, for whatever reason, and they have lots of mixed motivations, everyone from certainly organizations and activists, but brands are saying Black Lives Matter. Like, things
Yeah.
things are shifting in a new way, and so I'm hopeful. I'm also honestly being super intentional. I'm trying to be at least about like a plan for my own wellness, like being really careful about like how I approach every day. For me, as you know, I'm a person of faith, and it's important to me. Like, I try to open my Bible before I open my phone, right? Like, I'm trying
Nice.
to take a lot of breaks. I'm trying to roll up the windows in my car and like scream at the top of my lungs and let it out, and like find people that I can process this all with. Like, I'm trying to be careful to not feel overwhelmed in the midst of everything that's going on. How about you? Like, how are you handling all of this?
It's hard. I mean, first of all, you said the piece about George Floyd as a human being. I read this line in a piece in the New York Times this week, just reflecting on his memorial service. And I think it was a niece who said the thing that she missed most were his hugs, that he
Mm,
gave the best hugs. And
yeah,
that for me was just like,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
my God. Like, in the midst of all the hashtags and the black squares on Instagram and everything else, like, you almost forget that we're talking about someone who, was an uncle and was a father and was a part of a community. And it's just, I mean, it's just heartbreaking.
yeah.
Um, I have usually a delayed emotional response to
Mm-hmm.
things. Um, when everything first started happening, frankly, I was just kind of like, well, business as usual. Like, this is America, and people have also been cooped up for a long time, and summer's
Mm-hmm.
coming, and like, this is terrible, but in some ways, not unexpected, as horrible as that sounds.
Yeah.
And then I just really let myself, or forced myself, to sit with it
Mm.
and realize like I was not okay. And so I woke up one morning last week and I just wrote out the piece I had in the Griot on
Mm-hmm.
my phone in my notes section. Like, I was just full of rage and grief and frustration. And for me, like, I have to write. Like that is my primary vehicle for
Yeah.
processing things. If I can't write, I can't think, like I can't work. And so I've just been writing a lot, like every morning, getting up, writing, spending time by myself, you know, trying to be mindful, trying to pray more. Just
Yeah.
it's hard. And
Yeah.
I think we forget to give ourselves time to like have all of these feelings in the midst of these types of situations.
Yeah, yeah, but you know, it's the intentionality. Like, you know that writing is one of your outlets. You knew that in advance, even if it wasn't like explicit. So you were able to tap into that quickly. Hey, I'm gonna bring on a quick special guest for the rest of our conversation. Is that okay?
Yay!
The brains of our household, Michelle Dubois, is here in the building.
Yay!
Hey, Marissa. It's good to see you.
I'm so happy to see you. I
Yeah.
mean,
Same here.
you had a baby, what, 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, 5 weeks ago. It feels like 5 minutes ago, but yeah, we are excited to welcome our third,
Yay!
Auden.
Yes,
Yeah,
And here you
yeah.
are doing the work. So thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't stop doing the work. I mean, the kids inspire you to continue to do the work. You think about, you know, their future, and you think about how you want their future to be different. And if you stop doing the work, then, you know, I feel like not only the gains that we've made will be lost, but we'll be moving backwards. So
Marissa,
glad to be doing the work.
and I'm sorry, get you off here.
Sure.
I have a question for you too. There's something that we were talking about. What does it feel like to be the Black friend right now? You know what I mean? Because I'm processing that in big ways with in lots of my circles, and lots of text messages, lots of emails, and so forth. Like, what does it feel like? What do other people need to know about what we're going through as Black folks, and like how that interacts with others? Like, I mean, I have my own thoughts, and we can share them, but like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too.
Dude, being the Black friend who, similar to you guys, has been doing work around like racial equity for a while, and then I get to layer in like the person who knows stuff about grief and loss. Like, it's been insane. Like, my inbox, my text messages, my social media channels, like the incoming is so overwhelming. And it's a combination of, you know, people checking in to make sure that you're okay, which is always like my number one. I so appreciate it. And people reaching out to say, like, you know, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. You know, I'm having conversations with my church community. I'm having conversations at the farmer's market with the lady who I've been buying flowers from for the last few years. And it's a lot. You know, I think it is hard to be the Black friend in a lot of non-Black circles, because my normal inclination is, you know, I want to do whatever I can to help people, especially when it comes to helping people understand and manage, you know, these challenging situations. But I'm also just exhausted.
Yeah.
And so it's been challenging.
Yeah.
It's been challenging for sure.
No, same here. And I'm like one of those introverted people that has learned to be extroverted in public, right? But,
Yes, same.
but so that means
people think you're extroverted.
So that means that like the energy that it takes to respond to that text, like, what can I do and how can I help, and like, or can I just get you to do this one thing, like is kind of overwhelming. And it's like one of the things I've been trying to encourage folks is, you know, like, give the Black folks in your life like a little bit of a break, of a pause to process this, and go out, use this moment to search for education on your own and empowerment, and then, you know, and just kind of move that forward. And then the other piece is like, how do you really help people develop empathy? And what Michelle and I were kind of chatting about this, like the only thing was thinking about, like, so we process stuff like this all the time. Like, I'm at the park fishing with my son, park police comes up, a little overly aggressive, not nearly as aggressive as other parts of police interactions in my life, but like my kid is there, and like that happens like on a monthly basis, right? And so one of the things that I've tried to encourage my white friends to see is like, think about a time in your life that you felt that you were mistreated the most, like just completely unfair, and it just felt imbalanced, it's just wrong, there's no way to make it right. Now then, and that probably is like one or two times. Now, like, repeat that once a month. Like, I mean, that's honestly what it feels like. And then at moments it's like super acute, like George Floyd, but it's the everyday stuff. I'm hoping that this moment allows people to build greater empathy. Babe, what do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough being the Black friend right now, because like you said, Marissa, like the incoming is just exponential now. And so like the question that I would get, once every couple months, once a quarter about like, how do I talk to my white family about like being more empathetic and like why their views are wrong? It's like you get a text message like, every hour asking those questions. And so it's been, so the incoming has been really tough. One thing I think has been helpful is like all the organizations that, and you see it all over IG now of like, here are the 5 things you can do,
Yeah, pointing
and
folks
like,
there.
pointing folks to like resources that are already like together. I
Eight,
think
Eight Can't Wait is phenomenal.
Yeah.
8can'twait.org. But babe, Baldwin has been helpful to you in some ways.
Absolutely.
Like she's been like, James Baldwin is all over our house right now. I'd love for you to share that with Marissa.
Yeah, I follow like all the IG hashtags for Baldwin. He's just absolutely amazing. And so there are like 2 quotes that I like have lived by for the last couple of weeks. One has been one about the rage that Black people live with. If you're relatively conscious in America, that you're going to live with some level of rage. And so like processing, how do I live in that tension of like, how do I find, how do I like tune in and feel, and feel the anger, feel the sadness, feel the grief, and just know that that's a part of what it means to be Black in this country, to be Black in this world,
okay.
and that it's okay, and that is normal. It's tough to even know that, to embrace that level of rage is what you should feel, if this is where our country is. And the second thing is like just knowing that like that level of pain is so deep. That the second quote he talked about or he mentioned was basically white people would cling to their hatred because they don't want to feel that pain, because when the hatred is gone, all you have left is the pain. And I think today I would expand that beyond hatred, and I would just say willful ignorance in a lot of ways, that people cling to their willful ignorance.
So they don't want to be
so they
vulnerable
don't have
right
to
now.
feel that
Like
pain.
that's part of what we're seeing, is that this is opening up wounds, not just for us, but like there's white folks that are like, I don't want to feel these emotions, and so I want to move on, right? As instead of like sitting in that pain a little bit. So,
And unfortunately, what I've learned from the things that I've experienced that we've all talked about over the years, you have to sit with it.
Yeah,
you got to sit with it.
You want it to get better, Black, white, or otherwise. Like you have to sit with it. And so that's we're trying to make space for having these kinds of conversations, and then just sitting in this like terrible moment. It sucks. But this is great. I really appreciate you guys. I'm gonna see if Alex is around.
Awesome.
If not, we're still here.
Just let us know. Happy to come back.
We got a babysitter for 45 more minutes, so you let us know.
We are yours.
That's perfect. But if I bring you back, I don't just want you. I want
August Dubois, your favorite, will be up here. And then IG has to watch him for us while we go have a date night downstairs.
Right. I love it.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you. I adore you guys.
You
and
too.
I hope I can see you in person soon.
All right. Love you.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we're going to try and bring Alex in. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, I think this is going to work. Very exciting.
Hi.
Yay!
Hey.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I'm not good at technology. I told everybody that already, so I apologize.
Oh, it's no problem. It's no problem at all.
Excellent. So everyone, as I mentioned earlier, this is Alexandra L., one of my new favorite people. She is a writer, a speaker, and a self-care facilitator, and a Black woman and mother. And I'm super excited to just see your face on my screen. This is awesome.
Thanks for chatting with me.
How are you doing these days? And tell the truth.
Oh, I'm processing. That's what I've been telling everyone, is that I'm processing. And something that's been coming up for me a lot is the Maya Angelou quote, "Nothing will work unless you do." And
ooh, I like
I'm just trying to do my work, do my community work, self-care as community care, and also make space for other Black folks to grieve and also come together with like this collective healing during this uprising. It's really wild. So I'm processing. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And what is that? What is like processing and taking care of yourself look like for you? Because I'm sure there are folks who would just benefit from hearing, you know, how you're actually doing that.
It's checking in with my Black friends and having wine downs and dinner and talking and laughing. It's Black joy. It's my 2-year-old dancing in the rain yesterday. It is not being on social media because I am so overstimulated. I am so overstimulated.
Yes.
It is it's having my husband be the buffer between me and the news because again, I am a
Same.
very empathetic person and I'm feeling really raw and tender right now. And I just am in tears. I'm just in tears all day if I don't take a step back. So just having boundaries and honoring them and also celebrating the collective healing and not ignoring the collective pain that we are going through as people who are being murdered and brutalized and disregarded. I'm angry. I'm worked up.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to like I'm just trying to do something.
Lord. I mean, so first of all, I love all of that. My husband is also the buffer between me and the news, which made me a little nervous about having all these conversations because I haven't been, you know, as plugged into the news as I usually am. And I'm with you on setting limits around social media. I think one of the things that I struggle with, and that I think a lot of people struggle with, is, you know, not just the setting of the boundaries, but then actually sticking with them.
The honoring
Because
of the
it's
boundaries.
hard, especially when you're fired up and you want to do stuff. You know, we were texting this morning and I was like, I'm tired and I don't know how this technology works. You know, like this is crazy. So yeah, it's hard to really take a break right now when you also care so much. And, you know, I don't know about you, but like I just feel such a burden of responsibility in this moment, even though, you know, I want to take a nap and, you know, zone out and just chill with a glass of rosé or whiskey, because I look at my grandparents who, you know, God willing, will be 97 and 99 next month.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
I'm like, is this really the best that we can give them after almost 100 years of being twice as good? Like, are you kidding? And so like balancing I want to be in this moment as, you know, a Black woman who does this work around grief and loss and also work around racial equity, but then also feeling just totally worn out and like sad.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have
I
the
mean, I don't have the answers. Like I wish I did. I was speaking to my grandmother yesterday who's in her 70s and she was recalling the social justice movements that she walked through and went through and the civil rights movement and how, you know, things aren't much better, like aren't better today. And we were just having a conversation, elder to, you know, young person, and it broke my heart, but also her resilience and her hope gave me hope that I must keep doing this work. I must keep showing up in my community. I must take care of myself. And I mentioned to her yesterday, I said, what was self-care like for you growing up? And she goes, it wasn't. She was like, that
yeah,
was taboo. Like we didn't take care of ourselves, right?
no,
And she said that that's our generation learning how to take care of ourselves as community care is a radical act of showing up, specifically if you are Black, specifically if you are of color, because it is so easy to fill everyone else's cup before our own.
yeah,
And then we have nothing. So then how can we show up in our community work? How can we show up in our truth and be empty? We can't do the work. And I told you this
no,
morning, I said, we're not expected to show up perfect in this work, but we are
you
expected
did
to
tell
show
me
up
that.
full.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
No, you are amazing, and I so appreciated that this morning. You know, I'm just wondering, given the broader work that you do in this moment when, you know, lots of individuals, institutions, companies, etc., are starting to finally realize, you know, how racist the world is and that
Mm,
they need to do better by Black people. are you hearing from a lot of folks right now, you know, who maybe you weren't hearing from a week or two ago, you know, want to work with you, partner with you, pick your brain
Yeah.
about something?
Yeah. Um, so I've been processing. Processing is the word of the year. Okay.
I
2020
love
has
it.
been crap. Like, it has been so emotionally intense. And this just kind of like is the tipping point of the intensity for me.
Yeah.
Um, I've had to tell like the white people in my life, like, stop asking how I'm doing. Just, I'm shitty. It's part of my French.
It's okay.
Stop asking. Like, it's okay. If I want to talk, I'm going to come talk. But I'm likely not going to, I'm going to talk to my husband. I'm going to talk to my sister friends. And thank you for checking in. But I don't respond well to reactionary like check-ins. And all of this, we talked about this yesterday. It feels very reactionary.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of white friends who are like trying to be my shoulder. And I thank them and I respectfully said, no, thank you. Knowing that you're an ally and that you love me is enough. I don't need these daily texts and
Yeah.
calls. I don't need that. What I do need is that I want you to talk to your people. Like, if that's how you want to show up, talk to your family members, talk to your friends.
Yeah.
That is important. As far as businesses go, first I was getting all emails about COVID, and now I'm getting all emails about Black Lives Mattering from companies who normally don't say anything.
Yeah.
And it just feels overstimulating. I don't know. I think everyone is just trying to do something because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to bash folks who are saying Black Lives Matter because Black lives have been mattering. Like,
Totally.
we know this to be true, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, if you're finally going to acknowledge it, that's cool. But also, like, we need to really check our intention behind our reactions
Yeah.
and maybe even stop reacting and take a beat. Just take a second. And I think that's really important as well. Like, people are scrambling right now. Nobody knows what to do. The world is
Yep.
burning. There's a pandemic going on. Black people are still getting murdered. I don't want to say that we are just, this is not new.
No.
So, you know, I'm really just, I don't I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I think people are just trying to figure it out. And I am so like thankful for Rachel Cargill and her work and DeRay
Yes.
McKesson and Brittany Packnett. Like those, I love
Yes.
them. We need
Yes.
them. And yeah.
One last question for you, and then I just saw another account that we were talking about the NAP ministry.
Oh, they're
Is
everything. Goodness.
yes, she's going to be joining me next, also to talk about rest and self care. I love it. But I did just want to ask you, you know, how are you like parenting in this moment? And you know, like tell me a little bit about that. And I say that as someone who's been in a battle trying to have a kid for a long time but doesn't have one, and so
Mhm.
like I would just love to hear your perspective because I know there are some moms in this conversation.
I have three Black daughters, ages 12, 2, and 8 months. And our 12-year-old, of course, is most cognizant to what is going on. So it's a lot of conversation around celebrating her Blackness, her art, her talent, and her kindness and her heart. With our 2-year-old, it looks like I posted on my personal Instagram her playing in the rain yesterday. It looks like Black joy. It looks like letting kids be kids, letting
Yes.
Black children be Black children and be free and be liberated in their fun, in their joy, in their laughter. And
Love it.
that is what we are trying to instill, is that sometimes all we can do is nestle into our joy and address our healing. And that's what we do in this house.
I love that. Oh, that makes me so happy. Well, thank you. I want to hang out with everyone in that house once we're allowed to do that safely.
I would love to.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so, so much, Alex. This, as you know, all came together really quickly, and I appreciate you making the
No,
time.
thank you.
So
Thank you
thank
for
you.
having me. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too. I'm going to try and find Trisha now to lecture us on taking a break.
Oh, I'm tuning in. I'm tuning in.
Yes. Thank you. All right, you guys, let's see if we can do this without me messing it up. All right. Trisha, I just sent you a message to make sure that you are on here. We are very fortunate and we have a lot of folks who decided to join us today. So thank you to everyone for taking the time on a Saturday afternoon. I'm really excited to share what Trisha has been up to. I'm sorry you're getting a close up of my face as I try and get her on here. Oh, and we got some questions. So while I work on getting her on here, I'm going to go to some of these questions. How can we get out of the feeling of being overwhelmed? I mean, honestly, I think you get out of it by being okay with your grief and giving yourself time and space to tend to that grief and to take care of yourself. And then it's just a matter of time. You know, it's hard. It's really, really hard. But if there's one thing that I've learned about grief from my own experiences, you can't rush it. Let's see if we can get Trisha on here with us. Hi! Yay, Trisha, I'm so glad that worked, and I'm so happy to see your face. This is so wonderful. I am personally obsessed with your work. I've probably been following you for maybe about a year now, and I have gotten better at taking naps since I've been following you, so thank you. I would just love for you to share a bit about, what you do and the nap ministry, and then I want to hear how you're doing right now.
My grandmother would always say when someone would ask her how she's doing that, I'm still standing. I'm on the other side of this dirt, so I'm here.
Yes.
And because of that, I am in hope. Because of that, I know that my imagination can lead me to another place. Because of that, we're here. We're resisting. And so I'm in the space of still standing and in the space of processing and also sitting in my grief. And I'm not afraid of emotions. I think we have to really embrace lament right now and embrace emotions and really embrace all of these places as a refuge for us and not be afraid of them. And so I always want to uplift that the NAP ministry is not just a wellness organization. It's about way more than naps. This is a social and political movement. We name sleep deprivation as a social and racial justice issue. Rest is a form of resistance and reparations. We're here to disrupt and push back against capitalism and white supremacy. And we're doing that via rest. We're doing that via uplifting the concept of slowing down. And we want to disrupt grind culture because all of these different things are what we're uprising up against now. The movement for Black lives is also a movement for Black liberation and Black love and Black rest and all of those things.
Oh my God, I love it. I think someone said that it's your birthday weekend. Is that true? Did I see that?
My birthday, yes.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe you're messing around with me on your birthday weekend. Thank you so much.
I had to come on because I wanted to make sure that I was able to get a word to the people that this is about more than naps. This is about more than naps. This is about centering our deepest selves and seeing rest and liberation as tied together. It's not an afterthought. It's not something to do after you're burnt out. We keep talking about this new world. We're going to build a new world. Nothing's going to be the same. How do we think we're going to be able to do that if we're exhausted? To be able to really center this world that we want to see, we have to be able to rest so that we can invent, we can heal, we can restore and imagine this new place. And so our bodies are this portal that's going to allow us to be able to come up with this radical thinking that's going to take us to the next dimension, that's going to take us out of grief and out of injustice and into liberation and into freedom. And so we have to really get into the concept that this rest thing is a part of our foundation for our liberation. We will not be able to lead this movement if we are not well rested, if we are not connected with our deepest selves through rest, through naps, through slowing down, through disrupting grind culture. It's about really taking our lives back, and our bodies back, away from the production of grind culture, away from the production of evil and doing destruction to each other. Our bodies are a site of liberation. We cannot get there if we are exhausted and not well rested.
Oh my God, I love it. I mean, I completely agree with everything you're saying. This is why I've been following you online and why I reached out to you about this conversation. But I will happily admit that I really struggle with it. I am.
I would think it was crazy if you did struggle with it. You know what I mean? Because we are socialized in this culture from the time we're born to not rest, and so all of culture has set this up for us. And so to understand that is why we're there, we have to be really gentle and soft and meticulous and loving with ourselves. We don't know how to embody rest because we have been told the opposite. We've been bamboozled to believe it's lazy, it's frivolous, we gotta keep going, we've been taught literally from the time this country was founded that we are human machines. Black people were slaves. They were the property. They created capitalism. And so in that way, of course, you everything around it. I have a 13-year-old who's in public schools, and I just watched how, starting when he was little, they started to take away nap time, take away recess, take away play, take away, and so we're training even the public school system. Every system in this culture is telling us not to rest, to go, to do, to produce, to keep going, to tie our worth to our production. This is the lie. This is what we have to see and to begin to slowly deprogram from it. It's a slow, meticulous process. And I say, let's reimagine rest. Maybe you can't, get a full nap in. Maybe you're having a problem napping right now, but you can still take a quick, 5 minutes to close your eyes, when you're sitting on the edge of your bed while you're doing your hair. You can say no more things, and so we have to reimagine rest, in different ways.
Oh my God, I love this. So in this moment, excuse me, I would love to hear, how you're practically getting rest, particularly as someone who is in the fight, because it's a tricky situation, making sure that you take care of yourself when, we're all feeling just so much urgency around what's happening right now. And then I would also love, if you have any kind of practical suggestions for folks who are trying to be better at this.
I definitely, one of my number one things I like to say, I know it's going to sound very ironic because we're on it, get off online.
I'm with you.
We gotta really be discerning about our time management and be intentional about trying to find spaces to grieve and heal and rest and be offline and deprogram from technology. We have to be so intentional about what we choose to say yes to, what we choose to say no to, how much time we're online, how much we're consuming, how much Black death and trauma and terror we're putting into our minds. And so I keep telling people that you're going to have to choose it. It's not going to ever come to you. So when you think about it from that lens, you say to myself, so nobody's ever going to give me the space to rest. Once you really understand that deeply inside, you know that this has to be a subversive, inventive way all the time. So some practical tips: get offline 2 hours a day or more if you can. Set up detoxes regularly. Also, daydream. Really uplift the concept of daydreaming. You know, staring and meditating. My grandmother, who was the muse for the Nat Ministry, Aura, she was a refugee from Jim Crow terrorism, had raised 9 children by herself, deep poverty, and every single day that woman sat on her couch in Chicago and closed her eyes for 30 minutes,
Oh my God,
working 2 jobs. And so what she did is we would say, "Are you sleeping?" And she said, "No, every shut eye ain't sleep. I'm just resting my eyes to hear what God is trying to tell me. I'm just resting my eyes to connect with what's inside, to hear a word, you know." And so if she can embody rest 30 minutes a day of just closing your eyes, 10 minutes, you know, taking a longer shower, taking long baths, praying, you know, really making space for others to rest. And so those are some tips I think, like to think about what rest can really look like for us.
Oh my God. I love that. Now, I want to hang out with you. I want to hang out with your grandma. Like, this is amazing. And had I known it was your birthday weekend, I would have suggested we do this over like whiskey or rosé or something like that.
I'm gonna do that. I love whiskey.
Yes, I knew it. I knew it. That's awesome. Okay, so our next conversation is going to be over bourbon, which is also a form of self-care, at least for me, especially right now.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I really so appreciate you taking a couple minutes to chat on your birthday weekend. But now, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you for having me. It has been a joy to come on, and I really just want people to use their rage right now, sit in it, use your grief right now, sit in it and go through it, and just every moment that you're still standing in here, see it as an opportunity to really choose liberation and choose rest, kind of ground yourself. We need inventive, new, radical ideas to change this world. We're going to get that because we're well rested.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to see if Kelly McCreary is ready for us, but thank you so much, Trisha. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I see a lot of questions. So while I try and see if I can get at Kelly, I will also try to respond to some of these questions. It is really weird doing all this stuff on your phone, guys, just so everyone knows. Okay, let's see. Oh, we got her. Oh, it's saying for some reason. Hang on, let's see if we can add Kelly. We are waiting for Kelly. While we wait for Kelly, if you put questions in the actual comments, I can see them, but I can't see them in the questions box right now, unfortunately. Let me see. Let's see. Yay!
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to sort of meet you.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for making time. I know you have
Pleasure.
another commitment this afternoon, so I promise, you know, the former political advisor wrangler in me will make sure we get you out on time.
Well, thank you. I
Um,
appreciate
but
it.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have
I'm
so
happy to
many.
be here.
Oh, well, we really appreciate it. And, this all came together really quickly. So thank you for making it work. I have a bunch of questions for you, but I'll keep my list short. I just have to start by sharing this Grey's Anatomy story that ties to my own experiences with grief. So I'm 23, 24 years old, living in New York. At that point, my mom was battling both multiple sclerosis and breast cancer. And I'd spent a year at home trying to help her and my dad manage the diagnosis. It was bad, but she was, kind of on track. And so I was living and working in Manhattan, went out one night for drinks, came home, watched an episode of Grey's Anatomy where George's father went into surgery with like a heart problem, and they realized that he had metastatic cancer. And I will never forget like seeing that body. And for me, it was like, oh my God, like that's what's happening inside my mom's body right now. And just had this complete meltdown, because what I didn't realize was that I was carrying a lot of anticipatory grief. Like I knew it was going to be bad. I knew my mom was going to die, but actually being faced with a visual was just a whole different situation. And so I say all that because I would love to hear from you, as a Black woman in this moment. Like, I'm wondering if you feel like there is some element of your grief that is almost anticipatory.
Hmm. That's a really interesting question. I think that there is, ironically, before the uprising began, I had been doing a lot of reading about trauma, and how it affects the brain and the body, and also about just like health and just taking really good care of your body with by the way that you eat and what you consume and things. And so it's funny because I feel like in a way I thought I was doing some healing from other stuff, but I think I was actually preparing in some way
Wow.
for this moment. I think cosmically that was sort of the reason that those books and podcasts and articles that I came upon it stumbled or fell into my lap. But
Wow.
and so in an interesting way, I was becoming very, very aware of how, there's things that you just sort of get, but when you read a book about it, when you consult an expert who's spent their life studying trauma and understanding its effect on the brain, you really do realize that like there we've there's so much dis-ease in our minds, in our bodies, that we don't always bring our emotional state into the equation when we are discussing the cause of it, right? And so,
Yeah.
like it, that's what I'm so present to now, is that like we are Black women in particular are we struggle with our health. We are likelier to have
Yep.
high blood pressure, fibroids, I mean, breast cancer, you name it.
Yep.
And I'm really present to how the daily trauma of being a Black woman in this country, in this world, is working on our bodies and our minds, and and that's what I feel when I think about how I'm processing the grief. It's like we never process the grief of the
Yep.
daily stuff.
Yep.
We don't process the grief of the daily stuff, and then it turns into to to anxiety for me, insomnia
Yes.
for me,
Same.
and I had fibroids. I don't, I can't pinpoint the exact cause of that. It could have been a number of things. We don't know, like there's not enough information about that out there, about the causes of that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. That's just how I've been sort of contextualizing the
Wow.
impact of this, and how this particular moment is different in that we didn't have to just None of us did. The Black people, white people, and nobody got to just resume life as normal the very next day after witnessing the George Floyd video or the Amy Cooper video. It wasn't just like, oh my God, the shock, back to work, get the kids to
Yeah.
school, keep planning my vacation. It was we have all just been sitting and stewing in it and having to be very present to everything that's coming up. All of the emotion and the pain and the anger. I mean, for me, the rage, my poor husband and my poor dog. I just these outbursts of
I get it.
frustration at the news and things that you see and read. So
It's a lot. So before I let you go, because I know you have a commitment, what are you doing to like heal in this moment?
It's funny. Your last guest was like really like something that she said
She's
would
up.
just, it is so hard to give myself that permission and then not feel guilty to just, it's okay to actually spend this entire week doing one productive thing a day, spending 20 minutes doing something productive, and the rest of the time resting or taking a walk. I have to, I get the stuff out physically. I gotta go, I gotta be outside, I gotta be moving around, I gotta be in the kitchen, I gotta be cleaning. Like that helps me to sort of process the physical reaction to grief and anger and sadness and so I've been doing that. I've been really, really trying to eat well because I know that, the better I can, the more I put food into my body that is supportive and doesn't drain, the not easier, but the more capacity I have to actually process and be in these feelings, because I do know that I can't move. I have to move through them. I can't just like skip over the grief or the anger or the sadness
Doesn't
that
work.
day. I've got it. Yeah. And so like the less my body is working on processing things that it doesn't want to have inside of it, the more I can just be present to the actual feelings in my body that are arising and breathe through them and decide consciously what I want to do about them instead of just sort of like moving impulsively through my life.
I love it.
Trying to breathe, trying to sleep, playing with the dog, and really trying to identifying the causes and actions that I can participate in that I understand fully, because there's so much to do, right? This thing can feel so overwhelming. There's so many ways to plug yourself in. And identifying the things that are like resonant for me and that I can communicate and use my platform to amplify our and then write the letters, make the phone calls, and encourage people to vote. That's how I've been channeling my energy.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for using your platform and your voice to chat with us today. I really appreciate it. I've got Lauren.
This is so great what you're doing. I just want to thank you so much for creating this space, and all of the various speakers that you've had so far have really dropped some pearls. So thank you for including me. Yeah.
I really appreciate it. You are wonderful, Kelly. And Jen, if you're watching, thank you for connecting me to Kelly. I'm going to see if I can get Lauren in here next, you guys. Thank you all so much. Let's see. All right, bear with me while we try and get Lauren in here, who I'm so excited to chat with. Oh, let's see. Lauren, I can see you, but for some reason it is not letting me chat with you. But I know you're in here. So if you could send a request to join, that would be amazing. Oh, I'm going to answer a question while we try and get connected to Lauren. What was my inspiration for doing chats like this? I mean, honestly, I've just really been struggling. And when I'm having a hard time, you know, I try to carve out space for rest and mindfulness and healing, but I also need to do something productive. Otherwise, I have a harder time healing, frankly. All right, it looks like we are adding Lauren now. Yay!
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing as good as I can be right now.
I was gonna say, tell the truth. Don't lie.
Right, right.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to have you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I'm so happy to be a part of this. This is so important. And I just want to say, watching and seeing the other, you know, powerful guests that you had on this show. I mean, I'm not show, but live. I'm just grateful to be here and share. It's so important and it's so needed right now.
Well, I'm glad you agree on it being needed right now. So one of the things I want to talk to you about that we have in common, I am married to a white guy scientist. He's from the Midwest. You know, we've been together 8.5-ish years now. So we've had lots of conversations. Unfortunately, we've lived through moments like this before. But I would just love to hear, you know, how you're doing right now, you know, especially being in a biracial relationship.
Yeah. I'm doing good. I mean, aside from my relationship, just as an individual to start, I heard Alex say that she's processing, and that's pretty much the same thing that I'm going through right now. Processing, feeling, being in the moment, but also taking the time that I need to build my own mental strength. So that when I have conversations with my husband about things, which we are having the same as well, that I'm present, I'm there, I'm speaking from my heart. And matter of fact, we actually just had one yesterday. Full transparency, I kind of had like a moment yesterday where I just kind of had to let it all out. You know what I'm saying? Say what was on my mind, cry, yell, whatever. And so for him, because my husband, he wants to help. He wants to fix things. Like, what can I do? How can I help you? How can I make you happy? And I really had to have a real conversation with him. Like, I love you. The best thing that you can do right now is to support me and listen. And I can't speak for, you know, all white husbands or white wives or whatever like that, people in interracial relationships. But for me, I think that it's important to support your Black friends that listen, but it's like I think it's also important for them to speak to their white counterparts as opposed to trying to soothe Black people. Like, Black people, we know that we're hurt. We know what we've been through for years, centuries. You know what I'm saying? It's like, use the power that you have to speak to white people.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But yeah, so.
That, and I think for me, you know, I mentioned this on Instagram. My dad is 62 years old. You know, he's 6'4", 240 pounds on a good day. Lives in the same community in upstate New York that he grew up in. And he said that he wasn't riding his bike as much, you know, just like mountain bike, because he felt like a target. And I got off the phone with him. And then my husband said, you know, I'm so sorry and I'm so sad, but I also know that I'll never really get it. And that acknowledgement was really important, you know, because like, he can't. Like, he's not going to have the same situations with race that like you or I would have. That's just period.
Absolutely. And that's actually one of the things that I spoke about with my husband as well. I said, you know, I know that you love me and my family, but the sad thing is that no matter what, you'll never really understand what's in my mind, what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. And even our children, when we decide to have children, they'll have a completely different experience from from him as well. So, you know, that's why I was saying it's so important to support and listen. I feel like this is a time when, you know, Black people being in the forefront of things and Black struggles, that just listen to what Black people are saying. I feel like we have been trying to have this moment for so long and speak on how we feel. It's like we just want people to listen.
Yes.
Listen to what we're saying, process what we're saying. Just like, I can't remember if it was Alex. I can't remember who said it, but it's like Black people are processing things. It's like white people are as well.
Yes.
We all need to have this moment collectively. And yeah, I think that's important.
It's hard though. It's so hard.
Yeah, it's extremely hard.
So
Yeah.
what are some of the specific things that you're doing to take care of yourself and, you know, like you said, to be mentally stronger in this moment?
Absolutely. For me, one of the most important things that I've been having to do is unplug. Just because
Everyone
I
says
know,
that.
yeah, it's so real and it's so true though, because it's like being online for hours and hours, and I guess it's just kind of trying to find the balance between knowing what's going on, being in it, realizing what's happening, and at the same time, you got to step back, because being exposed to those constant images, murders, death, anger constantly all day for hours and hours and hours, it almost creates almost like a desensitization in ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I have to step back, put the phone down, call my dad, laugh, watch some comedies, play with my dog, love on my husband. Like, I need to have those moments where I have joy and happiness. I'm the type of person, like in my family, we've always used like humor and laughter to help us heal from hurt. Excuse me. So that's still something that I carry. I feel like everybody in my family is a comedian. And I feel like what comedians do is that they take the hurt from real life situations and find the silver lining that we can all relate to and, you know, laugh. Laugh, find joy. And that's basically what I've been trying to do. And like I said, you know, watching comedy, spending time with family, talking to my family more, and that's important.
No, I love all of that. So the other day, you know, in addition to this work I do around grief and loss and the writing, I also have a consulting business that's heavily focused on racial equity and, you know, criminal justice reform and all of these other very heavy Black-centered topics. And at the end of the workday, my husband Matt, he was like, "Okay, we need something funny tonight. Like this is too much. This is not working."
Seriously, like sometimes your soul just needs to laugh. You know what I'm saying? And it's actually funny because on social media, like I'll come across these clips. Like I just posted the the video. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's kind of like a viral video of this woman, and she was like, "You about to lose your job.
Yes,
you about to lose your job." So I debated. I was like, should I really post this? Because I know that it's such like a serious time. But I was like, you know what? I needed this laugh, damn it. And I posted it. And I'm telling you, my DMs were flooded with people like, "Oh my God, I needed this laugh. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you." And I feel like in the midst of trauma and pain, I feel like laughter is a form of self-care. And I feel like it's even okay as Black people, especially, for us to allow ourselves to do that. Like, we are so multifaceted. Like, we have personalities, and like the time that we are on this, I don't know if stage is the right word, but since everyone's paying attention to us as a people right now, show the world who we are. You know, we're joyful people. We like to laugh. We have personalities. I mean, in the midst of still fighting the fight. I'm not saying to forget about that, but I'm just saying the balance, right? The balance. So that's just kind of where I've been with it. Like, I don't feel like it's important for me to show who I am in these moments, because I want the world to see that Black women especially are strong. We're fighters, we're warriors, we're funny, we have personality, we love our families, we love our husbands. I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a sister. Like, I want y'all to get and see all of that. I'm angry, but in the midst of it, y'all gonna watch me smile and laugh, because this is what y'all need to see right now, period. So, you know, that's just kind of where I'm at.
I love it. I love it. I'm so happy. I've been trying to carve out time for cooking. Like, that's one of my things in terms of, you know, things that bring me joy. And just to your point and to everyone else's point, putting down the phone. Like, you'll appreciate this. I actually set timers for my social media channels on my iPhone just to keep me honest.
That
And
is a good idea.
Wait though, right before I went to go live, it was like, you've reached your minutes for Instagram.
Like, hold up, but this is for a good cause. I need to do this.
So
yes.
normally I'm very disciplined about it, but this week it's been a little bit more challenging, obviously.
Yeah. And baths and meditation are good too, because
yes.
I feel like even with everything, I've been so cerebral about things. I'm someone who just kind of observes and processes, and I'm an empath as well, so I feel things.
Yes.
So just taking those moments to just kind of sit in silence, you know, play some soothing music, light some candles, and just sit and be still.
Yes.
Feel myself breathe. You know what I'm saying? Those type of things are necessary, and they're helpful to me too.
Oh my God, I love it. This is fantastic. I realize we are way over the allotted time, but is there anything else that you want to add, especially because, you know, I'm looking at the comments and we just have so many Black women who are tuning in right now. Anything you want to add before we sign off for today?
I just want to say, Black women, you are so strong and so beautiful, and just we continue to be the backbone of our families, society, culture. It doesn't stop here. Okay, you know what I'm saying? We got to keep going. I love you all. I send you all positivity, love. Keep going and laugh. It's okay to laugh. Your body and your soul needs it. And it's okay to cry too. Shoot. Sometimes you laugh and cry at the same time. I've done it.
Happens.
And that's fine. Feel it. Feel it. It's okay.
Yes, yes. Everyone lean into your feelings.
Absolutely.
And for a laugh, this week we put on The Lovebirds on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
It was hilarious.
I got to watch it. Yeah, I got to watch it. That's on my to-do.
Yes. See, everyone, go watch The Lovebirds and take a nap and turn your phone off. That's pretty much it.
I know that's right.
Oh my God.
Sounds like a plan.
You are amazing. I'm so glad we were able to make this work. I really appreciate it.
Honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. I'm going to let you go take a nap and wrap this up. Thank you,
Okay, bye.
Okay, so we are way over time. And I want to make sure that we're able to save this. We are going to be posting it to Glamour's IGTV. I also want to let folks know I will be on MSNBC from 4 to 5 Eastern today talking about Black grief and healing and resistance and recovery in this moment. We will also be continuing this conversation on Glamour Live tomorrow at 2 Eastern, and then again tomorrow at 5 Eastern. So hopefully by 5 o'clock tomorrow, you won't be totally sick of me, but we'll see. So thank you. And if you have posted a question, I will try and take a screenshot of all of the questions and respond to folks either from my Instagram, which is at Marissa Renee Lee, or from Glamour's account. So thank you all so much. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you to all of our amazing guests. I feel like I learned a lot. And now I'm gonna go try to take a nap. So thank you.